Thank you so much, both of you, for being here. I actually, when I reached out to you, I didn't know if I was going to be lucky enough to get both of you to come or if like you guys just switched and took turns. So I'm really happy that you're both here. Uh, can you introduce yourself to the listeners?
I'm sure because we are basically people see us as like a package deal. So they're like, oh, I wonder if we're gonna get the whole package. But I am Karina, or Mel's other half, also known as one of the happy behavior girls. I am a soon to be first time mom. So if you see me lose my train of thought or take extra deep breaths, we're just gonna blame that on the pregnancy. Just fair warning.
Oh, yeah. I
Um,
am 100% there with you.
Okay, yeah. No, like right now I'm like I feel like corona or something. So yeah, so if you're wondering if I just ran a marathon, that was probably Mel, not me. She loves to run her marathons. But Mel and I have been friends for over 10 years, and I would say that we got even closer about 8 years ago when we started to work in the same field, which is ABA. So we went through our master's program together, worked in the school with kids together, studied, had vacations. I've become the godmother to her baby boy. And we really have grown so close over the years. And I would say about 2 years ago or so, we started the whole idea about happy behavior and how we were going to get started. And it basically was from a conversation about how we saw that there was such a need for parent support. And that's pretty much how happy behavior was born. It has evolved so much since then, but happy behavior really started when we saw that there was such a need for support for parents. Typically, there
Hmm.
are parent training sessions in ABA therapy, but if your child is not enrolled in ABA, it's hard to find that support. So once your child is in ABA, it's typically usually because they have an autism diagnosis. But what happens to those parents that don't have a child that has a diagnosis, or if ABA therapy isn't the right fit for their family, or if they're just looking for someone to, whether it be to guide them after just receiving a diagnosis, help them navigate behavioral challenges, or just need someone to listen to them and
Yeah.
vent. We started happy behavior because of that for those parents that need that extra support. So whether it be during their lunch break via Zoom or after bedtime and the kids have gone to sleep, hop on Zoom and provide that support. Like I said, happy behavior has evolved so much since then in the short span of the 2 years. But I would say it's still what drives us every single day is to provide that support, apart from providing the support that we do to our littles and our learners. But I'm sure Mel can explain a little bit more as to how we've evolved and
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
I think that was an awesome like a little intro, and I think that a lot of it has to do with how we evolved, right? And how, now we're lucky to do teenager support, virtual teenager support for individuals on the spectrum or individuals with ADHD, etc. We also provide trainings for schools and daycares, learning about behavior. And I wanted to talk a little bit about ABA, right? And what
Yes. And
is
I would
the
love,
science?
I was just going to say that was going to be my first question. If you could describe, give like an intro to ABA for people who might not know.
Yes. Yes. So ABA stands for Applied Behavior Analysis, and it's basically the science of behavior. And it's a branch of psychology, but what its unique perspective or point of view comes from the view that our environment shapes our behavior or has an impact on our behavior. So, all in all, ABA is kind of a perspective where we are seeing that stimuli in the environment can affect our behavior. It can increase behaviors, and behavior is everything that we do, anything that's observable and also not observable, like our thoughts and things like that. So it's all about using the science of behavior, and ABA therapy is using the science of behavior to help individuals better their quality of life and gain skills that mean something to them. And that's the important part,
Yeah.
skills that mean something to them, not to anyone else.
it can be something as simple as teaching a child to communicate their needs rather than crying when they're frustrated. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So there's so many ways that we can use the science of ABA and ABA therapy. And there, I'm sure you've heard of, all of the negativities or misconceptions about ABA. And while we definitely do not want to ignore that, there have been so many providers who have not implemented the science the way that it's supposed to be. And it's important for those people to speak out because there's now a lot of, autistic adults that are coming out and saying that they experienced trauma in their ABA therapy because of their providers. And if it wasn't for them to speak out as much as they are now, I feel like our field wouldn't have evolved to what it is today, and how many providers there are out there at this moment that are providing compassionate, neurodivergent, affirming care
Yeah.
to clients. Now being aware, like, oh, wow, the techniques that they were using way back then, or not even way back then, just a few years ago,
Yeah.
um, that is not affirming. And let's change that. And that is something also that Mel and I took into account when we started to provide direct services to our learners and listening to those voices that were once not heard. And now that they're adults and are able to communicate that, it's a beautiful thing that we are now learning. And it takes the right provider to kind of have an open mind about it and say, okay, yes, I'm in this field and I don't want to be associated with that. So, not that I'm just going to ignore what they said, but I'm going to change the way that I provide services and be more affirming and respectful of our 2-year old client. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So,
Yeah, and I mean that's what whenever because I've had plenty of conversations about ABA and yeah, when I hear all of this, I'm like, yeah, that sounds like neurodiversity affirming, like it's neurodivergent affirming. I assume to mix all those words, all the words up. Um, but it seems supportive and helpful, and it's like, we're giving you the accommodations and the support you need to like access your community, which is like what we want, which is like inclusive. Um, but so I don't know if you guys saw, I did put a poll up in my stories the other day asking people what they thought of ABA. And the people who said that they didn't like it, a lot of I mean, other than what I've heard from self-advocates, I've been hearing, and this I did not know, so I would love for you to explain this part of me because I absolutely detest anything to do with insurance. Um, but I had some families tell me that like the ABA therapies would say like you have to do 40 hours a week. And then if they said no, then like the insurance wouldn't cover it and they couldn't get anything else. Like people wouldn't be budging on that. So would you say that's like people who aren't doing the practice right or well?
I would
And
say that they're like waving a red flag in your face if they're telling you that.
I mean, that's what I kind of thought. I was like, are there other people who can offer you ABA therapy? Like, why? Like 40 hours a week? I'm like, that's a full-time job. Like, that doesn't make any sense. When do they go to school? Like, when do they do anything?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it has to do like when you see those comments about 40 hours a week, and those are experiences that people have lived through and are it's a challenge. It's like,
Yeah.
online you hear sunshine and rainbows about ABA, but then you go to a provider and they're like, we need to put you 40-hour week or vice versa, right? Being in the social media world has opened us up to a lot of
Yeah.
um feedback, I would say.
What a
So
positive way to say that.
yeah, so we get kind of drilled a lot, and I feel like it's necessary. We don't
Yeah.
shy away from the tough conversations. And like Karina said, we acknowledge that, like, is ABA abusive? It has been, it can be, right? It all depends on the provider and what ABA's power or effect lies in the beholder, right? Whoever is applying the science to
Yeah.
someone, if it's ABA therapy. Again, I want you to think of ABA kind of like the umbrella term, kind of ABA is just a science, and we can use it for many different things. We can use it for businesses, for marketing things, or we could use it for so many different categories, right? ABA therapy is seen, quote unquote, as the gold standard for autism treatment. Do I agree with that? I don't think so, because again, as time progresses, we learn, there's research, there's so many things evolve, right? And what I'm trying to get at is if you are going, if you get like given a 40-hour week prescription or recommendation from a behavior analyst, as a parent, you don't know what to do. You're not in the field. You don't know if this is appropriate or not, or, this is a professional telling me that I need to put my 4-year-old son into a 40-hour week clinic that I have to drive to and from every single day. And I just got to do it. Parents are desperate in that way, and who knows where they are in their diagnosis process or even in their own, mental kind of health, or where they're at mentally with everything. So just thrown into this world, you get a prescription from your doctor for ABA therapy. We do some assessments, and then here you go, 40 hours a week. We'll be here. Start on Monday. And it's like, I guess I got to do it. These professionals, they know best, right? But that's not the case
Yeah.
because one, ABA, no child should be prescribed 40 hours a week. They're
No
children,
child.
right? No
No,
child.
no
And
child.
yeah, and a lot of it too, like when we have for our direct ABA therapy kind of department at Happy Behavior, none of our learners have 40 hours a week, right? I would say like our average is like what, 5, 10 most right now. Again,
Yeah.
it's different for different needs, accommodations. Um, if we have severe challenging behaviors, that's obviously a different conversation, but it all really depends on the provider and what type of ABA is given. And it's sucky to say it that
Yeah.
way, but it's kind of like um kind of looking for a therapist that you match with and that your values align
Yeah.
with them, and it shouldn't be that way, but it is. And another important part too is with the insurance. With the insurance,
Yeah.
it's this medical model of disability where we are zoned in on deficit-based thinking instead of strength-based point of views or perspectives. So even though you can have the most neuro-affirming provider, someone that is responsive, someone that is safe, someone that's not changing or conforming or helping others mask, if you're building insurance, you got into this sticky situation where your treatment plans have to abide by some type of standard for insurance, where they require you to be very explicit with deficits, challenges, and how is autism becoming, or not becoming, but how is autism a barrier for this client in order to get approved services. So it's another kind of hoop you have to go through. And to someone that is not doing responsive or safe ABA therapy, they're just like, okay, I mean, I'm doing what the insurance is telling me. This is
Yeah.
right,
And that's interesting because it makes me feel like the system is like forcing us to have like this ableist mindset to get the support that like our kids just need. That like we have to sit there and be like, well, let me tell you how horrible autism is and why we need ABA, which is like not so I can totally this I feel like this is really the first moment that it has clicked to me that people have this like strong feeling of not liking ABA because yeah, every time I've talked to a behavior therapist, I'm like, nothing seems bad here. It seems like the problem is like the person you're getting the service from. And it makes me think of like inclusive school or like schools where they're trying to like practice inclusion and people are like, oh, it was this horrible experience. This kid hit me. And I'm like, okay, so that's like an experience. And I don't want to say that wasn't, like that happened. And I want to like support you for having to go through that, but that's not what it all looks like. Like there's so much more to it than like this one bad experience or but it was pretty interesting, like how many different parents told me. I mean, I guess like, so you guys have this service where and is it just the two of you, or are you like or are you like a part of a bigger organization, or it's like, it's you two, right?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
us two. It's Mel and I. Yeah.
So like, where are all these other organizations? Like, do doctors just like recommend a group? Like, how do people find, well, I know they'll know how to find you who's listening, but like, how do people find ABA therapists like in their area if they need to do like in-person services?
So it can be many different ways, right? So when a child just gets a diagnosis of ASD, of autism, ABA is kind of the first thing that will pop up when you type into Google, what do I do? My child just got an autism diagnosis. And they'll start looking for places in the area. Um, as far as our clients, it's basically has been word of mouth, advertising on social media. That is pretty much how we have gained our, our families that we work with. But I did want to go back to the 40, because I know I'm gonna
Oh
finish my
yeah.
the 40 hour a week thing, and about how companies will do that based on the insurance thing and the money thing. And then Mel went into saying something about like the providers, but I did want to say about providers. It is common to have a great provider. And when I mean provider, I mean, let's say the RBT, which is the behavior therapist that is providing the direct support to the child. Let's say they align with the family's values, they're a great fit. However, just because I pictured myself in these shoes, which I am the first one to admit, I remember having a client of my own in the first company that I ever worked at, and he had 40 hours a week. At the time was 19 years old. I assumed that that was the norm. And I remember sometimes going to the homes and I just like I worked with the kid for so long. Um, and the parents would say, "Hey, like, what do you think about the goals that are in here?" And I would say, "You gotta talk to my BCBA." But I remember leaving the house and being like, first of all, why does he have so many hours? 40 hours is such a long time. He would have 20 hours in the home and 20 hours in the clinic.
Yeah.
So it was like his full-time job. And so sometimes it may be hard for a family to understand that they have that great provider, they have that great relationship with the therapist, but the company overall, and if they're seeing that, well, we like her, she's a great fit for my child, but he does not need 40 hours a week and he does not need these type of goals in there, because there are a lot of red flags that we can talk about as well as to what to look into treatment
Yeah.
if you see things
And
like, go
and
ahead.
I think what you said, Karina, is something that I don't think we've ever kind of expressed it, but now it's like, oh, light bulb.
Yeah,
It
that's how it
makes
was like.
yeah. Karina and I talk all day, every day, and it's been like this for like years. So I feel like I can read her mind, and I'm like, my God, this is a new piece of information that we haven't talked about. But that dynamic is very interesting because I want to break down the service kind of chain for ABA. There is a company that hires BCBAs. And on the insurance side of things, BCBAs are the ones that write as a board certified behavior analyst, you do the assessments, you speak directly with the parents, you create the support plan, the treatment plan. Um, and from here, there is an RBT, which is someone that is a registered behavior technician, and this person implements the said plan made by the BCBA to the child. There can be multiple RBTs per client, per learner, but that's kind of how it goes. So the BCBA is required to supervise minimum of 5% of the hours the whole month or a month, yeah. So the BCBA is kind of right here, and then the RBTs are a little bit under, and they are implementing the direct therapy every single day. The BCBA will go once a week or twice a week if you're lucky. This is a traditional setting. Twice a week if you're lucky, and just supervise, speak to mom or dad, be on the computer. That's kind of the it's
Your
not even a
roles.
misconception. It's just kind of
Yeah.
what it looks
And
like. It shouldn't.
And do
Go
the
ahead.
RPTs get like any say or like any opinion? Like, do they share their opinion with the BCBA of like, hey, this is how this is going, or I don't think this is needed? Like,
I think
They
it
how's that
depends.
they,
relationship?
I think it
they
depends.
should.
They should. Yeah, it should be a collaborative team effort where
With
caregivers,
yeah,
everyone.
caregivers. Yeah, just because RBTs are the ones who spend the most time with
Mm-hmm.
the child than the BCBA does. And when the BCBA does go, usually parents will take advantage of that and be like, so this is happening. So da 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 da. And they start talking back and forth. And it's almost like the RBT in
They're
the
not
back is
even
like,
there.
BCBA, hey, by the way, I just started to observe this new behavior that's been happening the past 4 days. I've been collecting data. What do you think about adding it into the program so we can start, working on this? Or so
Yeah.
yeah, so it should be how Mel said, like a team effort with parents, caregivers, the BCBA, the RBT, everyone should be included in creating that treatment plan so that
Yeah.
everyone's on. Yeah.
I mean, it makes me think of the classroom, like the special education classrooms that I have been in, where the paras, especially like one-on-one aides who are working one-on-one with the kids, like just like how different it's kind of like this weird hierarchy that is in these settings. Um, and I do feel like it's really hard to navigate just how to communicate these issues, like how to be like a team and like all be able to communicate the needs and like find a compromise like all together. I also was at a school once where there was a case manager who like did all the IEPs, and then there were the teachers who like basically gave them the data, and then paras who worked the most with the kids like one on one, but they weren't like at the IEPs or anything. Like you barely even got their opinion. It was really the teacher's observations that got to the case manager. And I just like, I mean, I know as when I was a one-on-one aide, I'm like, I'm the one who has like the most information. I like, don't you want some sort of like just a blurb from me about like how he's doing
Yeah.
based on of his
You
goals?
should, as they should.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and like
I
as
mean,
an RBT, I was an RBT for many, many years, more than a BCBA, and it really depends on the company that you're at, and that's why for happy behavior, we wanted to put a whole stop to that hierarchy or kind of
yeah,
that dynamic because it's not fair to the RBTs that are dealing with a lot of different things going into someone's home every single day. You know, driving to and from different houses, and I think you can talk a little more, Karina.
Yeah, and sometimes even like during our sessions with parents, we'll have like grandma come in like on Zoom and be like, "Well, I've been seeing this." And it's like, "Okay, so now we're going to take from everybody because that's what we should be doing, just like in the school
yeah,
setting, the parents have the right, but we want to get everyone's opinion, and I think that is the best way to support because at the end of the day, it is like teamwork, to get
yeah,
to where we want to be and to help best support our learners. If it's not just, me working one on one with the learner and then at home it's just like, oh, well, that's just something different. We just do
yeah.
different here. We want to make sure that everyone's on board and get everybody's opinion in line.
And I love that. I love that you just said that because I am definitely one to like I just want to get things done really fast sometimes. And so I know like, someone else wants to give me an opinion. They're like, "Well, that's not what the child does with me." And I'm like, "Dude, I don't you barely see them. I don't care." But in reality, it's like, okay, no, that's how they're acting with a person that they're not that close with. Like that is important if we are trying to like figure out, specific behaviors or if it coincides with the goal. Um, so, Mel, I think this was you. You were talking about red flags. I would love for you guys to tell me what you would say, like, what are the biggest red flags for people looking into ABA therapy and looking into companies to work with? What would you say are the biggest red flags and green flags?
I think if you are a parent and you are on the phone with a case manager for, or someone that's from the company, and you're asking about the ABA services, what is required, and they say all of our sessions have to be in the clinic. All of the sessions. You have to, it's mandatory. There's no we can't come to your house. We can't do community things. Schools different per location, per state, and even district. So that you would have to do some extra research. But if they say you all of our sessions are in the clinic, I think that's a little bit of a red flag. I think you should ask more.
And because you
You're
think that it should also be available like in home?
one, I do think so. And I think that the goal for ABA therapy is to generalize skills. And by generalizing skills, it means that we need to present
Like,
these skills and
yeah,
learn these skills in different environments. So, in a home environment or out of the park, outside of the clinic, I think if you come across a company that's very, very hard, like hard, no exceptions on the clinic environment, you have to think, is this
yeah,
appropriate for my child? And kind of think like, okay, if they're not offering me this flexibility and I want someone to come into my home, what does that even, what they're not offering it to me, I'm the caregiver. What type of flexibility are they offering to my child?
yeah.
So just, I would say warning, just think it through and ask questions about it.
Yeah, another red flag too is also how we were talking about the group effort. If a provider and analyst is ignoring parent input, that's a red flag. You should, at the end of the day, as a parent, you know your child way more than we do. You
Yeah.
spend all the time with them. So if a company is ignoring parent input, red flag. If they are focusing on um, compliance over, collaboration, that's also another red flag. The 40-hour a week that we were talking about, red flag. That is, there is no
Mhm.
need. He is not working at like Publix for 40 hours. He is a kid who should be in after school activities, hanging out with his brother or sister, playing in his front yard, and then and then maybe even having his therapist join him playing in the front yard or going to soccer practice with him.
Oh,
Um,
I love that so much. I'm
Also,
always
like
pushing.
reduction of stimming.
yeah, stimming is a big one.
Oh,
If you're eliminating
stimming
Oh,
stimming
reduction.
as a goal, red flag. Stimming,
Eye contact.
yeah.
Oh my God, I have a whole list. If I if eye contact, trying to, teach someone to mask, basically, like, eye contact can be very uncomfortable for neurodivergent individuals. So
yeah,
if they are teaching your child to, or wanting to teach them to, when they have a conversation, to provide eye contact, that's not a little bit of a red flag. It's a very big, humongous red flag.
And
The stimming.
this may sound like there's no way, but trust me, there are people out there who will claim that that has been said in the past, oh, our ABA treatment, therapy will cure your autism. If you hear that somewhere, that is a red flag. We are not curing autism. There is no need. It is not a sickness. So if you hear that, that is a red flag, as well.
If they do, and this can maybe get a little bit technical, but have you heard of the procedure extinction?
no,
It's basically when a behavior is happening, or like not a behavior, not any behavior, like a challenging behavior, maybe like someone's raising their hand, or not even challenging, like I'm just raising my hand, but pretend that I'm raising my hand, but no one's like answering me. That's just, you're putting an extinction to it. You're not giving it any attention, right?
yeah,
So if you are a parent and you receive a treatment plan where they're using some type of extinction, but they're not replacing or teaching a replacement behavior,
hmm,
then that's a red flag. No behavior should just be, the goal shouldn't be to just decrease a behavior. Every behavior serves a purpose. So we need to find a replacement behavior to that's going to functionally communicate what they are asking for
Yeah,
in a
serves
safe
the same
way. Yes,
Can
that
you say
serves the
that again,
same.
Karina?
function. Find a replacement behavior that serves the same function without it coming out in a way that is challenging behavior. Does that make sense?
Yes. So you just
Yeah.
cut out, so I didn't hear you.
Yeah.
And it's also, what is a challenging behavior? Challenging behavior is any behavior that interferes with their safety, with someone's safety, with other people around their safety, with the environment, harm to the environment, things like that. So crying, you know, because you're sad is not a challenging behavior. You're expressing
Yeah.
your emotions. You tell me that you don't cry when you're sad, you know? Also, I I feel like this is kind of like our happy behavior protocol, but like planned ignoring for like attention seeking behaviors. I'm like, give that kid a hug. He wants a hug. You don't want a hug when
It
you're
makes me
sad.
sad.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think this is so great because I mean, and I think this is a lot of just issues in general, that language is, it's fickle. Like there's just a lot of different opinions and biases of like just so many things. But I mean, it like just every person who even like responded to my story about ABA therapy, I really hope they get to listen to this because everything you're saying, I feel like I don't feel like that's what everyone does, but I feel like that's literally anything. I mean, people could say that they're an inclusion specialist and like not be neuroaffirming. Like it's interesting. I mean, and I've been diving a lot into culture recently of like how to make changes in like a culture. Um, because it does feel like these words get power, and then within that, like people who identify as like working or being in that like culture, it's like interesting how we like kind of fall, like how we agree or disagree, and like how are we able to communicate those issues. Because I am definitely on the side of social media where I follow a bunch of I feel like ABA therapists who are on yours who agree with you. And so when people tell me that there are so many people out there that are like, telling kids to like mask or, trying to teach them to mask or stop stimming, I'm like, who are you? Who? Like, who, where are these people? Because I don't see them. And I'm very happy that I don't see them. But and it's very like nice to know that there are so many therapists out there like you guys who like are supporting people and like actually giving them the resources to like, you know, be included in their community.
And
I was
unfortunately, it's still happening. It's not that it was something that was happening way back when. Like right now, no, I didn't even tell you this. This actually happened yesterday. I have we have a happy behavior client in a school, and in the classroom there is another child that has his RBT in that classroom as well. And the way that I just wanted to crawl into a hole and like just just be there for a while. She was working so hard on forcing eye contact.
uh,
And it was the look at me, you need to look at me. And I kept wanting to be like, can you just stop? Can you just stop? And so I just started to think like this is as much as we see on our social media side the same thing that you're seeing, that everyone is pretty much like on our page and doing things the way that we're doing, it's still existing to this day. And there was another so this classroom has quite a few RBTs, BCBAs in the room. And there was another BCBA in the room who stepped in, that's not even her client, and was like, hey, there's other ways that you can work on grabbing his attention without forcing him to make eye contact. Let me explain to you what it's like when you force an autistic individual to make eye contact. And went off. And I wanted to be like, yes,
wow.
clean, amazing.
That's
And I,
awesome.
yeah, and I was like this close away to like stepping in, and I feel like her and I were looking at each other like, are you gonna do it? Are you gonna do it? What's who's gonna go in first? And she went in, and I was like, oh my God, thank you. And the RBT was very receptive to it. And I mean, she was a very young girl. I'm sure she like had just started and was basically doing what I'm sure she was taught, right? And then what I was taught all these years ago is not, I'm
Yeah.
not doing the same things that I was taught. I have evolved and educated myself and have listened to the autistic individuals that have come out now. Um, so I'm hoping to see if I see her again, maybe next week or whatever, and see how, if she, changes anything. But yeah, this happened just yesterday.
Yeah. I mean,
So,
that's like the best way to learn is like out there doing it. Cause I mean, I don't think I ever, I don't know. When you think about like yourself growing up and like how many times it's like, one, two, three eyes on me, or like how often people would be like, okay, can you like look at me? Do you see what I'm saying? And,
mhm.
um, yeah, cause even with my own kids now, I say like, it's usually like I'll ask if they can hear me, or I'll be like, okay, if you can hear me, put your hands on your head. Okay, go wash your hands. Like I'm trying to do things instead of like I can't even like think about how I tell kids to look at me anymore because I feel like I've tried so hard to get that out of
And
yeah.
when you just said that example, oh my God, sorry to cut you off. You
No,
said that
I'm good.
example of look at me, or if you can hear me, touch your head, and then go wash your hands. This is a little example of how ABA is everywhere. And in the ABA world, that's called behavioral momentum. So it's easy, easy, hard, or not wanting to do. So when you tell a child or someone like, okay, touch your head, okay, touch your nose, that's easy, right? Okay, let's go put on your shoes, you know? So
Yeah.
that's just a behavioral principle, but it's like I said, I use ABA all day, every day. I don't even know. I don't even, realize it. And
Yeah.
and so does everyone. So ABA as a whole is not the problem. It's the way it's implemented.
Yes. I actually talked to this other I want to say he's a student. Maybe he's like in grad school. Um and we were talking about it and he was like, we really do this like on each other. Like we're constantly like even if we're not trying to. It's like, if you and I think about my partner all the time when I'm like, he does the dishes and then I'm like giving him all this extra love and I'm hugging him and I'm not trying to like put that together, but I'm like, look, your behavior got like basically a gold star. Look at what just
Yeah.
happened without
Mhm.
actually physically giving him a gold star. Um, but he said it so beautifully of just like how I mean, and kind of what you guys were talking about too, like how much our environment affects like our behavior and like people. Like we don't know how other people are going to respond to their environment. And so we're basically just all these like, you know, people trying to figure out the world of like, how are you going to respond? Because I'm going to do something. And then if that makes you mad, I might freak out because I don't know how to respond to you yelling at me. And it's just like this whole thing.
Yeah,
Um,
there's so many
yeah.
variables, and everyone's so unique and different, and that's why ABA has to be individualized. No treatment plan looks like someone else's. It's not copy and paste. It's what's
Yeah.
going to work for you is going to work for you, and then it might not work for me or the next person. So, when we have our parent support calls, a lot of it is understanding behavior, and a lot of our parents in that department of happy behavior, I call it department, but it's just me and Karina, like doing this. But we see we have most of our families that are solely virtual parent support don't have a child with a diagnosis, or just want some guidance in how to understand behavior and find and decrease challenging behaviors, or just help their child communicate easier, better, in a safer way. So that replacement behavior. And it's just I we see their little like faces light up when we talk about the four reasons for behavior, and like, okay, what can we do to, not have him tantrum in aisle
Yeah.
five at Target. And it's like, what I don't know what they want, and we'll break it down for you. So it's just the science can be applied to many different scenarios.
So what are the four reasons for having a behavior? Or is this paid content that we're getting now?
No, oh my God, the more the merrier. So we call it the functions of behavior. And any behavior that I do, like me drinking water, is a behavior. Um, and there are four functions to them. It's and I remind myself, or like I have a little acronym. It's called EATS. Eat, eats. Sorry, or do you use seat, Karina?
Eats.
Really? Seat? Okay, well,
Eats.
we're
No,
okay. What do you do?
it eats. But what the
Oh, eats? Okay, everybody eats. Yeah,
yeah.
everybody eats. So escape is the first reason, escape or avoidance, right? So like I'm getting out of here. I don't want to do this. It could also be attention or connection, however you want to call it, like us posting on social media is attention seeking behavior. Nothing wrong with it. It's just what it is. Um, T is tangible. So access to something like I wanted my iPad. I want a cup of coffee, whatever. And then we have sensory, and that's all sensory stimulation or automatic behaviors. Things like stimming, like I'll, click my pen. Or when you see someone tap on their foot, we all stim. I stim all the
Yeah.
time. I stim 24/7. But yeah,
Oh,
those are the four functions of behavior.
yeah, so we could use, let's say, for example, the behavior is, let's just say crying, right? Crying. So we need to understand what is a function of this child's crying. So if they're crying because, let's say, it's for escape, you just presented, you have this whole project to do. Oh, start crying. I'm gonna get out of here. Start crying, start crying. Like, oh, so that maybe the parent will like give in and be like, okay, well, you don't need to do this anymore because you're crying, and let me console you, and then we can maybe do this next week, whatever. They just got out of it. They use that crying as a form of escape from the task that was just presented to them. Let's
Hmm.
say it is they want that the lollipop in Target. They start crying. That is because they want access to that lollipop and parents deny them access. So the function of that crying behavior is for access to the tangible, or whatever it is. Because we also can say like, because now that I'm just thinking of the acronym, the EATS, the
Yeah.
access also, we like access to tangible.
Yeah, I just put tangible.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, you can cut this part out where we're, we're,
yeah.
we're like trying to like decipher it in our heads.
Because now I'm like eat, and then I was like, what? I had two A's, and now I'm like,
But but going back to your crying example, child is crying because they don't want to do the project. Okay, what is the replacement behavior? We don't want them to cry. That's also distressing for them internally and they feel bad. Okay, what is an appropriate way for them to escape this project? Oh, mom, can I just do this tomorrow or something?
Yeah.
Obviously that's easier said than done. We have different a
mhm.
list of things that we have to do to teach that skill, but that's a skill that we want to work on, right? Self-advocacy or
Yeah.
asking for a break, requesting for a break. So that's where the goals come from. We see what's kind of like not, I wouldn't say like challenging, but see what is like a barrier for this person or individual, like crying at the store or tantruming because they want a lollipop. We don't want them to tantrum. That's also not safe. They can get, if they're on the floor, they can get run over by a shopping cart or whatever. You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
sorry, my mind, guys. Um, but it's like you want them to be able to get their needs met in an appropriate, safe way. So
Yeah.
that's what that looks like.
Yeah. No, I
But
think that's
and it could
great.
be multifunctional too, which the whole
That's what,
other
yeah.
thing.
That's another podcast.
No, I love this conversation so much. I feel like behavior is a really tricky thing. Um, I mean, and what I've been saying a lot to people who like get really overstimulated when kids are dysregulated, is that I like try to explain how to like the caregiver, it could feel like you're in this flight or fight mode because, a kid starts crying or screaming and you're just like, well, I know personally for me, I'm like, oh my God, are you hurt? Like, I'm like tense because I'm scared that like they got hurt, someone hurt them, or like who knows what. Like it's panic, and then I look over and it's like spilt their milk, and I'm just like, oh my God, like that would like I just freaked out, and this happens like throughout the day, all day. I'm a stay-at-home parent with two small kids, and
Ah,
and
twins.
so I explain this to people all the time that I'm like, and it just like, I know for me too, it's just so much better to like help them now. I mean, they're like 4 and 2, they're very little. And so early, I mean, they'll cry and I try, like, I usually, if they're like crying to get attention, that's a big one. Um, like they're like frustrated to try, like today, my 4-year-old didn't want to put her car seat buckles on. She wanted me to do it for her, and she's like very capable of doing it herself, and I was like, okay, like I was trying to make it fun, I was trying to sing, and then she would just like kind of cry to like get out of it, and I was like, and I think at one point I finally was like, I see that you're like feeling really frustrated right now, but I'm just letting you know, like I'm gonna help you in different ways, like I know you can do this, but I
And
don't know
that's
where I was going
amazing.
with that
You're teaching her
but
resilience and that you're still gonna be there helping her, but she can do
yeah, but I just like I feel
it.
like ABA is like what I do all the time. Um, maybe not always realizing it because I feel like that's how I was trained too. Like when I had I'm not like trained uh RBT. Like I don't have I'm not that. Um but getting like my special education teaching credential and all that stuff, there were like behavioral classes, I mean there was things that we had to learn because I don't know where else I would have learned all this. And then I did end up doing NCPI. Do you guys know that? It's like non-crisis prevention intervention, something like that.
It sounds familiar.
It's one of those like um how to stay safe with like physical aggression kind of things. But and I think they've changed it because now I've been told that people like have these blue boards or something that they walk around. Have you heard of this either? But
You're
I think it's
supposed
more,
to walk around with a
it's like I think it's like to protect yourself. If like
Okay.
I'm not actually quite sure. I've just kind of like seen it on Facebook groups. But the class you have to take it if you have students that like have physical behaviors that could be dangerous like for the staff or students in the classroom. And I do have to say like their biggest thing that they say is like, like no like you are doing everything in your power not to restrain the child. Like they want it to be hands off. They teach you everything like on how to be hands off and how to support behavior and how to like, you know, communicate, all that stuff. But at the very end, you still learn restraints as like the last resort, um,
Mhm.
which is still a thing. Again, I'm not sure where I'm going. This happens a lot. I just go off on tangents in my own little head.
it's okay. That's fine.
uh,
No, and yeah.
yeah, what were you gonna say?
No, I think that that's, in the event of a crisis, you have to be able to protect the child or the individual and yourself and others. So it's important to also know like when is it that I have to implement something of this degree, when it's appropriate or not, and how to. So I hope, I'm gonna look into what you just
Yeah,
said, um, just to learn more about it. But I think that's important too because you don't want to get hurt yourself, especially if you're supporting a teenager or someone that's, you know, strong.
yeah,
And in the school, it's almost even more difficult than if you were to be like in a home session or in the clinic environment because you have so many other students in the classroom as well that you also need to be protecting apart from your specific client and yourself. It's everybody
Mhm.
else in the room as well. So that's hard, but
yeah.
that course is pretty interesting. And I haven't heard about the blue boards, but I definitely will look into.
Yeah,
I know, and I haven't even like seen them be used. I've just heard about it in like my local Facebook group, like my school,
yeah.
whatever it
Where
is.
are you located, by the way, Kayla?
I'm in Vancouver, Washington. It's like
Oh,
southern Washington. We're right next to Portland, Oregon. You
Nice.
hop
okay.
over the
You're like
bridge.
all the way.
Yeah,
But I wanted to talk a little, like really quick about um some of the things that are like in our field, things that we use like prompting. We have like visual prompting, things like that, like hand over hand, um, partial physical prompt and things like that. I think again, it depends on how we are implementing these things. I have a client, a learner that loves hand over hand prompting. Like
yeah,
he will literally move his hand while he's coloring to have me help him. And I'm like, I love this, like and I'm just touching the pen and they're like he's going, but he wants that touch, that like connection. So I
yeah,
think again, there's some that, don't want, don't touch me, okay, of course. But I also think that it really depends on what we're teaching, what the child is receptive to, and what they also want.
yeah,
We have wonderful, thing like God, and luckily that we have really beautiful relationships with all of our learners, and they trust us in a way that it's really beautiful to see. And we're just hanging out, playing with them, but just teaching
yeah,
them like in their living room, little things here and there, and throwing things so discreetly that to them they're just like, we're here for 2 hours just having fun. But to us,
yeah,
we're like checking off data points in our head, and then like, so but I mean, I'm also having fun, but that's what it looks like. That's what
I
it
feel
should
like
look
that's
like.
so much more, that's so important. And I was about to ask you more
Yes.
about hand over hand, but you basically answered all of it. So we got a dog and I just heard it whining outside, but I mean, it's with the family, so it's fine. Um, but yeah, because I was going to ask you about that, but then you described it perfectly because I'm sure you've seen that I always talk about hand under hand, not always.
Yes.
I talk about that a lot. And I have had people be like, but I have a kid that really likes it. I'm like, okay. I mean, I'm not like, it's just like a consent thing. Like, I'm just saying, to the people who come in and they're like, okay, write your name, do this, and just like move their hand. I'm
Yeah.
like, no one's learning anything. You're just like going through steps. That's not helpful.
And we talk a lot about assent. Have you heard of assent?
No. Is
So
it,
there's
I would say, is
consent.
it like fading out prompts? That's kind of what it made me think
No.
of, but okay.
So consent is that written, right? Like, okay, we're
Okay.
allowing, we're permitting this, right? Assent is something that's not written or even not speaking. It's not a vocal thing. It's something that is given to a provider or even, anyone that we're in contact with. Giving assent to someone means that you are willingly allowing them or to participate in whatever you're participating in. So
Okay.
all of our learners, and we are constantly monitoring their removal of a sense, right? And you can also use by body language. So it's like, turning or
Yeah.
whining. That's they've removed the scent. Like they don't want us in their space. Respect that. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's not like finish this puzzle or this is a task we have to do. It's be flexible. The scent is removed. You don't have the okay to go in and do a full physical prompt or to go in and push a puzzle in their little bubble. So
Yeah.
consent is often given in this talk like in this kind of space by parents, right? And they're signing and they're saying yes and they're also saying vocally. And then there's assent, which is non-vocal and it's just constantly can be removed or given. We just have to always monitor like what
Yeah.
what that looks like, and it's different for everyone.
Well, I actually, okay, so I saw a video once on Instagram that someone talked about how they practice nonverbal communication with their children of like consent. And so that basically is just what it sounds like, but it would be like, okay, so the mom's standing there and is like, okay, so come give me a hug and you tell me if it looks like I want a hug or not. And so sometimes she would like just like kind of have her head down or like her body kind of turned away. And so it was like walking through the steps of like, does it look like I want to be touched? Does it look like I want a hug? Like, and I love that so much because I have never really been a fan when people are like, when you're asking for consent, like yes means yes and no means no. Because like sometimes yes doesn't like it could feel like a forced yes, or it doesn't feel like a genuine yes, and like anything that's not a yes is a no in my head. So it's like, and I feel like there's just so much more to it that it's like, they said yes, so it's fine. And I'm like, that's just not like we also need to like read each other's emotions or behaviors and that it can change and that like there's just more to it than like this simple yes or no. So I love how you just described that. That was amazing. Okay, we do have to wrap up soon. I don't know if we could do this quickly, but I really want to hear like a little bit of like an origin story. I know you told me how you guys got together, but how did you both get into like just behavior therapy, education? Like is that like something that we could possibly do?
Yeah, so okay, so I can start. So I always knew that I wanted to work with kids somehow, doing something. Um, I started to work in an after school program, which is actually sort of how I met Mel or how we became friends. Working in a school. I then thought I wanted to be a teacher. I became an aftercare leader of a group of third graders, and I quickly realized that that was not for me. I did not like the just one of me and 27 of them. I just realized it wasn't for me. So even though my bachelor's is in early childhood education, I started talking to a friend about how I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. And she said, oh, well, I'm an RBT and I work for a clinic. in Miami, and we're hiring. Would you like to come on board? And I said, I don't really even know what autism is. I have no idea what ABA therapy is, but I'll give it a shot. First day, left home, like, I think I know what I want to do for the rest of my life. This is so interesting. It's one on one. I got to have that experience. There were a few days during my training where I was like, am I cut out for this? Can I do this? Like, am I qualified enough for it? And I have stayed in it ever since. I have evolved as a provider myself. Um, and Mel, I don't know how you I actually don't know that story as to how you started. I'm just
You, because
realizing
of
that.
you. I'm like, oh, we're learning new things about each other. Um, you, because of you, because you told me what you were doing. And I was like, I want to copy her. I want to do that too. But I've always been a very silly, animated, goofy person. And I was always at the kids' table coloring. Um, so I always knew I wanted to do something with educating and with little ones because it was just what I always, I think I'm a child inside as well. So I was like, okay, like I have to do something like this. I got into the school. And then I was like, okay, after school it's cool, it's cool. Like I like the chaos. Like yes, I was also soccer coach of the school, so I'm very sporty and I did all that stuff. And my bachelor's is in sports recreation, and recreational therapy. So I did my internship with in nursing homes and senior homes. So that's amazing. I would also love to work with seniors. I love my seniors. And then I also did my second internship at a pediatric clinic where they did PT, speech, OT, and not ABA, but music therapy. And I was like, oh, found it. This is the one. And then I was like, I want to do this, but I was like, oh my God, but PT, like I want to do something a little bit like different. And then Karina was like, girl, I've been doing this RBT. I'm like, what is that? And then that's how we got into like, what is RBT? And then I would did all my little research online and I was like, what is this? Like, want to learn more. And then I
I
started
think
with a company.
I think I did know this. This is all coming
Yes,
back.
you did. Because I remember you started your master's program and I wasn't in anything. I was just like working as um I don't know what I was working in. But I was like, oh my God, like let me see what you're doing. And then you were like graphing stuff and I was like, that's cool. Like I want to do it too. So yeah, I just did it. And the first day that I was in RBT, my BCBA, which she's been the best BCBA as an RBT that I've ever had. She was like, so Mel, like, what are you gonna do? Do you think this is something that you want to pursue? And I was like, you know what? Yes. And I'm very impulsive in that way. So that same day I applied, I got my what is it, like the references, and I was in like in the span of a week. So I just jumped on it and stuck with it ever since, had babies along the way, moved to North Carolina, did so
Move
many things,
back.
and now moved back because I had another baby. It just great. So I just came
Wait,
back
so
and then
where
sit
are you
here.
guys right now?
I'm in Orlando, Florida.
Okay.
Karina's in Miami, Florida. But
Okay.
We're
we're from Miami.
three and a
Yeah.
half hours apart.
Yeah.
Too far.
Too
Too
far.
far. We just need to move next door right now.
But yeah, and I think a really big part of it too is to be an RBT, it's quite easy, I would say. And it also gets
Wow.
tricky. It gets tricky there because you have individuals that don't want to pursue something in this field, implementing important work to someone in someone's
Yeah.
home, to someone's child. And they're, it's it's black or white. It's either you want to work with kids or you don't. You want to pursue this or you don't. And it can affect the treatment level 100%.
Yeah.
Because there's so many, it's so easy. You need a 40-hour degree course that you can do online that's free and a high school diploma and then a BCBA to give you a check and just make sure that you're okay and that you did the 40 hours, take your test, which is on Pearson, and you're good, you know? But there are seasoned RBTs and RBTs that are pursuing the field and but there's also some that just need a job that pays well, and that's it. So it varies a lot.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, just like as anything,
Yeah.
I yeah. Well, I love that. Thank you for telling me your guys' origin stories. Uh, and I just love that you two are together. Oh, I so the actually the first time I ever saw you guys online was your shirts. It was like the we all communicate with the kids.
Yeah.
What does it
Talking
say?
also looks like this.
Yes. I love it so much. Did one of you design that or
That
draw?
was
Yeah, we
Mel.
both did. Yeah.
That was Mel. Mel says that we did it, but she had the brains behind that shirt. And then I came in and I was like, okay, maybe this color here, this color there. But she had the brains behind that whole shirt idea. But that is
Yeah, that's
all our
a
shirts. That is
favorite
my
shirt.
favorite. Every time we see someone purchase that shirt, I'm like, oh my God, thank God they got that one. Because I just love to see it on people and be like, yes, talking also looks like that. It doesn't always mean
Yeah.
you need to speak vocally, out loud with words.
I love it so much. I yeah,
Thank you so
I
much.
it is so cute. I don't even I know I looked at your other shirts too at some point and
We
now I can't even remember what any of them are.
It's that the yellow one is iconic.
It
It
is.
it just is.
I mean, I instantly
we
followed you. You like you one of you posted the video and I was like, "Oh my God, follow. That's it." Like
Oh,
I'm in.
and you use a lot of whenever I wear it, someone's like looking at me and I'm like,
yeah.
you
Oh,
wanna
this?
I'm like, oh, this is it.
I
That's
just want to get like
nothing.
tattooed like right here, like the whole thing.
Oh,
You would
there's
be surprised how many
so many
people don't
things.
even know what autism is or just
Oh,
what.
yeah. I was living in Orange County. That's where I'm from, Southern California. And
Okay.
and so I'm from Orange County. I left and was in San Francisco for a while, and then I came back to Orange County. And I part of what kind of drove me out, we lived in a different city when we went back down there. And there was, there was just like a lot of I'm gonna go with like conspiracy theorists. Not everyone, but one time, and this was like on the line of like if we wanted to move or not. And we were walking on the beach and there was some protest happening, and some guy came up to me and was like, "Don't give your kids vaccine, it causes autism." I'm like, dude, you're talking to the wrong person. So I'm just going to politely decline this conversation, but they're going to be getting vaccinated. Thank you so much for wasting your time talking to me.
Oh my gosh.
But oh man, I probably should have just responded more to him. I did not because I mean, I was like a new mom. Maybe I only had one kid at that time. I
No,
can't.
and you hear that everywhere. That's just not just thing. Even in Miami, and not even in Miami, especially in Miami.
And how
Yeah.
far along are you, Karina? I'm probably going to just cut out this whole little part, but I just been wanting to ask.
I'm about to be 24 weeks.
Oh, fun.
I had just heard that apparently in your 24 weeks, you're considered 6 months pregnant. That
I
math
don't know,
is
Six.
not
mom.
mathing for me. Does that
I
make
don't know,
sense?
mom.
Yeah,
Yeah.
'cause huh.
6 times
Um,
4 is 24.
and people usually like after I was old enough that I had friends who were having babies, people that was a weird way to say that, but people were saying that like you're basically pregnant for 10 months. Like they say
Yes, because it's
9 months,
40
but it's
weeks.
like actually 10 months. And I'm like, I don't like that. I
Yeah,
don't
no.
like that one
And
bit.
Yeah.
especially that I feel like I found that I was pregnant like within 48 hours. No, not 48 hours. But it feels that way. It feels like I've known for years.
Me too.
There's no ending.
I feel like you've been pregnant for like a year.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
crazy. And the fact that it's only
Oh
I was
my
gonna
God,
say,
it'll be here
how has
before
it
you even
been?
know
Has it been okay?
it's been quite the journey. Right now, I feel like I am doing phenomenal compared to where I
The
was the first
second
trimester.
trimester bliss.
Amazing. It's like, who am I? Can I like just do? But the first trimester was really rough, like emotionally, like physically draining, like mentally, everything. Like I was throwing up
Oh,
everywhere, anywhere. My DNA, my vomit is spread all over this town. Um, it was rough. It was
my
pretty rough.
DNA was spread all over the town.
No, like every parking lot in the surrounding shopping centers I was there.
Oh,
You knew Karina stopped by because you
oh, that sucks.
yeah, it was rough. But now it's like once a week I'll get nauseous, and now it's just more so like I'm tired, out of breath.
Yeah. Oh, the out of breath. Oh my gosh.
Oh my God, yeah.
That is such a bummer when you're just like talking and then all of a sudden you're like, oh my
Yeah,
God.
I need to like have like a little oxygen tank to like help me out because sometimes I'm like, why can't I put the dishes away without like feeling like I am going to pass out?
Hmm.
It literally feels how I when I got COVID the first time.
Yeah.
That
Oh
like,
gosh.
out of breath, like I was like, oh my God. But
Well, I hope your third trimester is easier, which like it totally could be.
you are the first person to say that. Thank you so much.
I
Everyone's
mean,
like, oh, there's a chance that your third trimester is going to be even worse than the first one. And I'm like, thank you.
no, fuck those people. It's different for everyone.
Thank you for being so.
No, I mean if it helps, this probably doesn't help at all. I hated every day being pregnant. There was never second trimester wasn't any better. And it wasn't even like I was nauseous. I just like was uncomfortable. I don't know. And I think I was just like mean. The the problem is that I really like to work out like high intensity workouts. And so it and I like miscarried the first time and the first time I bled was like after a workout and then I was really afraid to work out for my next two pregnancies. And so I didn't work out at all and I just would like go for walks and I would sit down and I felt like that really took a toll on my mental health. I would not redo that part of my life, but if I were to, I would have told myself to like work out more, even if I was like still taking it easy. But I think focusing on your mental health while you're pregnant is really important, is really the story there. Because yeah, both pregnancies, I stopped working out because I was like, nope, I'm not doing anything that could do. And you know,
Yeah. Yeah,
everyone,
you still want to just do everything to protect that little
yeah,
human that you. Yeah.
uh, it was so much, yeah. So I wish I could have. Or maybe like talk to a therapist during that time. I did, and also I talked to a therapist both times during like postpartum. So helpful. Oh, and pelvic floor therapy. I swear by
Oh
that. That
God.
should
Really
be mandatory.
talking about how you were mentioning, considering taking care of your mental health during your pregnancy. Um, I feel like I really went through it in the first trimester, and I had Mel there for me. Um, And I guess that's kind of what sprung the idea of our upcoming. We have mom to be um, like support session on Zoom, kind of like what we're doing now, but with
Yeah.
other pregnant moms. So if you know of any pregnant moms that want to join, it's free. It's just for everyone
Cool.
to just hop on and basically vent to each other, talk about what they're going through, what trimester they're in, what symptoms they're experiencing, what feelings, and really it's hard to connect with someone who has not been through it or is not going through it. Um,
Mhm.
Sometimes you talk about it with your husband or your partner or a friend, but they haven't been pregnant before, don't have kids, or your husband is not experiencing the same exact feelings that you're going through, and it's almost isolating in a way.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to, open up that space to allow other moms who may be feeling, you know, remotely similar to how I am, um, just give them that shot. So if you know of any pregnant moms,
Yeah. Do you want
wanted
me to put this part on the podcast?
if you would like. I was
I'll
sharing
edit
that because it just
around.
came up naturally.
Yeah, no, but because I do really like that. I happened to be in a pregnant mom group when I had my first baby, but then it got canceled because of COVID. So we all ended up meeting virtually. And I mean, one of them I still talk to. Like we still,
Oh,
because like all of our babies were born like within 2 months of each other. And we all had different stories. And so it was cool to watch us like we had to do a C-section, like epidural, natural, whatever. Like it was interesting to like have that community, even
Yeah.
if it was like just for that time. I think that was really helpful.
Yeah, no, I can imagine how helpful it would be because I have just like a couple girls that I know that are pregnant, but actually I found out they were pregnant because of me posting that I was pregnant on Happy Behavior social media, and they reached out to me saying, "How are you doing?" And now building that like little community that I've built so far has been great,
Yeah.
and now seeing the other people sign up and join for it. But I just remembered that you said that this won't go up for like about a
Oh,
month or so, and it's
dang it.
next Wednesday. So, but don't worry about it. But I just wanted to share that with you in case
I
you.
think that
Yeah.
we plan on hosting either like more of these if it's quarterly or every month. It really depends.
Yeah.
We want to open like Karina said, that space for support groups that free. It's just building a community of moms. I think it's important. Like I'm doing one for like moms' mental health, so just any mom talk about
Yeah.
like their mental health. Karina's doing the pregnant mamas one, so it's just ongoing things and just
Have you guys done a post
building.
about this?
We do have
Yeah,
a couple posts about it, yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
No,
it's a,
don't worry.
we're
Shoot.
just like always throwing stuff out there because Mel and I
Yeah,
just have like us like random spurts of energy where we're like, let's just create like 5 million posts and then we'll just go crazy. And then sometimes they get lost because not everyone is as
we just
crazy.
do too much. We do too much.
Yeah, like we just.
Yeah. I feel that a lot. Um, so okay, so this is a book I think both of you okay, I just loved this book and I recommend it to literally everybody. It's called How Not to Hate Your Husband After Having Kids, and it is so good, but I had friends who read it when they were pregnant and they were like, "Yeah, I remember reading it, like I don't know, it was like okay." And I'm like, "No, you have to read it when you have toddlers." Like you have to read it when your kids are like testing you more. And don't get me wrong, like the baby stage has its like hard moments, but it's like it was like a really good book to have me and Josh like communicate about things that I was like just I mean kind of like systemic sexism that just like plays out. And I would say Josh is like we are like so focused on like how to both be very active parents, but like there were still some things that were said that I'm like, dude, why does this fall on me? Like it was really interesting. It's a really good book. So I
I
always,
love this topic. I think you need to have us on more because we could talk
dude,
all day.
I could talk about this
One for
all the
how
time.
not to hate your wife. Is there a version for the men to read?
No, what? We're perfect. No, I mean,
True. That was a silly question.
I think so. One of the like aha moments that Josh had, I think this was after we had the second baby. Um, so Ewan, okay, his name's Ewan. So when we had him, he was really a challenging baby. He just did not like to sleep through the night. He had really bad acid reflux, and I really wish I got his tongue tie fixed as a baby. But whatever, that's done now. Um, so he just like wouldn't sleep through the night. Marlo, my oldest, was like being potty trained. We put a lot at one point. We were tired. Um, and we were both sitting in the bathroom. We were in like this two-bedroom apartment that we had, and we were sitting in the bathroom because both the kids were asleep in our rooms. And Josh was like, "Man, I'm so tired." And I'm like, I want to be empathetic for you, but like my body sucks right now. I hurt. I can't work out. I can't have sex. Like I can't do anything. And I'm also tired. Like I don't know how to empathize and like I love you and thank you for being here with me, but like I just can't. Like I would love to just be tired. Like that sounds so great. And after that, not that he like never said he wasn't tired ever again, but I think that was like a big moment in our relationship that he was like, okay, because he's like the fittest he's ever been. I was like, I couldn't give him the attention he usually got. So he was like working out, got abs. I'm like, dude, what the hell? I'm like wearing a moo sweating and running around like, feed me.
Leaking the milk, and like,
The audacity.
your
Yeah.
hair's falling. Like, oh my God,
Yeah. But
you
it's fun.
stink. Oh my God, that was crazy.
Oh, the BO. Yeah, that was weird. But it's
What?
Like, why
fun.
did like who allowed that? Oh my
Who
God, Karina,
allowed
yeah, you're
that?
gonna stink, girl.
How did that get passed through? Because I
Yeah,
would
like
like to
who
deny.
who
It's
permitted?
it's just you get a little worse BO for a little bit.
Oh God.
It goes away. I think. I don't know. I feel like I smell fine now. Um, my kids are
Okay.
18, so no, I'm kidding. They're not. Um,
Wait, I was about to drop my water. I was like, wait a second. This pregnancy brain is crazy. I could have sworn she
yeah.
said 4 and 2. I was like, how is she old enough to?
No, 18. Oh no, I guess I could have had kids. Oh my God. I don't like doing that. I don't like doing that math. That was mean.
I can't
Um,
even do math. I'm like,
I was like, okay, I'm 34. So minus 18 is 26. 16.
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
crazy.
Karina's a teen mom still.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like I'm pretty sure we're in like 2015 right now. So
Yeah.
that makes sense.
No, I remember when I found out I was pregnant, I called Mel. Fun fact. Mel was the first person to know that I was pregnant before my husband. I called her immediately. Like I was still in shock reading the test, and I had to
Yeah.
show it to her to confirm that it was like accurate. Like, am I actually pregnant? And then we are just both crying. But I
Yeah.
remember thinking like, oh my God, what are my parents gonna say? Like, what are they gonna think? And then I'm like, oh my God, Karina, you're borderline 30 years old. You're married. Like you have a house. You are not a teen mom. And I still sometimes like when my belly shows, like depending on what I'm wearing, I'm like, oh my God, what are people gonna be thinking? Like they're gonna be like, why is this like 14-year-old alone out here pregnant by herself?
Oh my gosh.
I have those
I
thoughts.
I feel that all the time. Whenever I even go to stores and stuff, I'm like, people must think like, wow, you must have had kids so young. And I'm like, dude, I look old. I'm old. I gotta just
I'm
accept
like
I don't look
I'm
like
like with both kids, like just a girl.
is
I'm
it
just
the
a girl.
nanny?
Yeah.
I'm just their big sister.
Oh my gosh. But no, I being pregnant is it's awesome. And I'm happy. I'm thankful that I got to experience it because I now seeing people who like have struggled getting pregnant, it's like I guess it has made me kind of think because I don't know, like it's easy to complain about it, but it's also oh, it's cool.
Beautiful blessing. Yeah.
It's crazy. And then childbirth. Oh my God. That is like the coolest thing ever. I seriously I cannot believe what my body has done, and I could not explain how babies are born as like a human being. Like I cannot explain to someone where the baby is inside my body. I can explain that all my organs seem to have been somewhere else, but I'm not quite sure how. But it's so cool.
Yeah.
It's crazy, right?
It's fun. Ah, man, babies, they're so fun.
And
Okay,
they smell so good.
they do. I don't when they start eating real food, that's when it all they like burp and you're like, "Ew, God, what the hell? What are you eating?" Oh, sweet
That
potatoes?
who wants them? Send them back.
No, yeah. Then come back when you're like cute. I don't know, 6. Do they get cute again? I don't know. Toddler stage is we're in a wild stage right now. I don't know. We'll get through it. They're fun. Kids are great. Where am I going? Okay, I'm basically gonna cut all of that. Just a heads up. If you're like, oh, we had this great conversation about babies, like it's
I'm like, that was my favorite part.
I'll give you the unedited version for you guys to re-listen.
I'm like, why isn't the BO in there? The BO should be in the book. That is the main topic.
It
No, but
is.
I'm super interested to see these cards.
Yes. Okay, do you want me to do two separate ones or do you want to do one together for um your
I,
company? Happy behavior.
yeah,
It's like
we
I don't know why I have to think of the B so much because it's like literally just say the word and I'm fine. But
um uh,
me,
we could do one if you want.
we could do one each. It really doesn't. I I'm here. My kids are getting bathed by their father. We're chilling. I could
We
stay
could
up
do
all
one.
night.
We're like forcing ourselves
I
to do.
know you guys, it's like what 9? Oh yeah, it's late. Let's do this. Let's do this. Okay, tell me when to
We'll
stop
do one.
shuffling.
We'll do one for happy behavior.
Okay. Tell me when to stop shuffling. Oh, did you say stop? I'm gonna, no, you know what? I felt good about this one. Okay. Ah, is it upside down? It's upside down. This is the Seven of Wands. There's no cat on
Upside
here. I'm
down. Oh,
sorry. I know it is
okay.
upside down, which someone told me
Uh-oh.
that that's like supposed to just like it's supposed to be like a time of like re-evaluating or I don't know. People try to explain to me the tarot cards. Maybe someday I'll actually learn more about
Oh,
them.
no,
As for
something bad.
now, they're just
Mel looked it up. It's something bad.
She
already.
has it. She has it there. I would like to hear.
Well, no, I was gonna just tell you what the book says, but what does
No,
okay,
I want you to go first.
okay. Well, I just want to let you know that usually like the key words for when it's reversed are like not usually positive, but then
No.
the description make changes it and then we like interpret our like okay.
Okay.
You guys are looking really worried. It's just
I'm
fun. We're
stressed.
fun. We're fun tarot cards.
Should we just quit?
Just
Okay.
reshuffle,
So
reshuffle.
the reversed is it says giving up or losing control. And it says hold strong in the face of adversity. Your wand is bigger than the six pointed at you and don't give up. So you need to fight to maintain your position. Don't let others bring you down or try to take away what you have worked so hard for. There may be setbacks in the process, but always stand up for what you truly believe in. Tarot. Um,
Wow.
okay. I mean, I feel like that kind of even goes with like our conversation of like how I wanted to talk about ABA that like and you even said like you had those reels like go viral where people were like getting really upset about ABA and you guys were like, "No, let me explain and educate and let's have these conversations." So I don't know. I feel like you guys are doing this.
I think
I like it. I like it. So upside down, seven of wands. Not me doing some research up till like for an hour after this. But I like it. I need the link to those things so that I can. And if I don't like them, if I don't like the one that I picked,
just shuffle and pick another one.
amnesia. Hello. Just go again.
Karina,
Oh
were
my,
you about to say something?
probably, but I forgot.
Okay. You looked like you were about to.
Yeah.
Because it's yeah. So it is like it's all like interpretation. So you know when you go to like a tarot card reader, they pick it and then they're like they try to interpret all of them, which I got to probably get better at doing if I'm going to keep doing this at the end of my podcast episodes instead of me sitting here looking through my book like, okay, let me tell you what this says.
No, I think it was I really like that part of it. Like, because it's like this is new for all of us. We're gonna do this together.
Yes, we're
We're
all
all learning.
learning.
And now I feel like I believe it even more because you're reading it from the book
Ooh,
versus like someone holding it up and be like, "Oh, this means that," and then
I'm
you just
like, you're
yeah,
making
I'm
that
like,
up.
"That's fake."
Like, if
that's
I were to
true.
make it up, I would say like seven of wands. You're gonna have magical powers by tomorrow. Go to
By
sleep
tomorrow.
In seven
with
hours.
one sock on, one sock off, hair in a ponytail, and tomorrow you wake up with magical powers.
That's perfect. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you both of you so much for staying up late and being on this podcast episode. And I will put like your social media handle so people can reach out to you and hopefully learn more from you two. I know I've learned
Thank
a
you,
lot. And
thank
by
you so much.
Likewise, thank you for having us.
This was awesome. You're so fun.
oh, stop it. You guys are so fun. Let's all hang out.
No, you're fun.